Okay, so this new series of clips I came up with is gonna be called HISTORYGASM, and in it I'm gonna just talk about totally random historical facts that absolutely fascinate me. You know, like stuff you can describe in just a few words, but nonetheless they mean the world to you. And mind you, I have an old video that's called HISTORYGASM from about a year ago or something, where I compare Caesar to Jesus. And when I made that clip, I had no idea I was gonna be continuing this HISTORYGASM series. But there we go. That was the very first episode of HISTORYGASM, and I didn't even know it. And now this is HISTORYGASM episode 2, where I continue talking about weird historical coincidences that universally make a weird amount of sense. So here we go. Let's start with my first freaky historical fact that fascinates me. It's about one of the most famous and tragic women in the history of the early Roman Empire, Agrippina the Elder, granddaughter of the one and only Emperor Augustus, daughter of Agrippa, mother of Agrippina the Younger, who was the crazy swimmer bitch who died a badass, mother of Caligula, the renowned monster of antiquity, and last but not least, grandmother of the guy who managed to turn the city of Rome into a pile of ashes, Nero. So yeah, this is who Agrippina the Elder was. She was a complete badass and a woman of power and influence. She endured war camps with her husband Germanicus. She battled her enemies after his death. She faced off against Tiberius, against all odds, and then died tragically by starving herself, according to ancient sources. Yes, this is Agrippina. And this is her tombstone. Or more precisely, the very marble coffin that held her urn and ashes. This very block of stone actually contained the last remaining DNA and flesh, if you can call it that, of Agrippina. Nowadays it rests within the Capitoline Museums in Rome, which I'm gonna visit in a few months with the full intention of touching the stone myself. Previously it rested in the family tomb of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, which is the mausoleum of Augustus, which still stands today to some extent, and which I'm also gonna visit the fuck out of. I hear, by the way, that the mausoleum is closed to the public and under some kind of futuristic restoration, but I'm gonna try and get close to it anyway. I mean, isn't it worth it going into some stupid Italian prison if you're gonna see up close the tomb and last resting place of the greatest emperor who ever walked this mostly idiot-infested planet? Okay, I got carried away. So this is the Tombstone of Agrippina, and it basically reads in Latin, the bones of Agrippina, a daughter of Marcus Agrippa, granddaughter of divine Augustus, the wife of Germanicus Caesar, the mother of Princeps Gaius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, who would have been our very own ancient psycho Caligula. Now, besides all that, what's truly fascinating to me about Agrippina the Elder and her tombstone, and the primary point of this video, is the very fucking weird and fascinating fact that sometime after the decline of Rome and all its sacks and downfalls, after the end of antiquity and sometime in the Middle Ages, this tombstone, this great block of marble, this proud inscription of this fascinating lady, was used, wait for it, as a fucking corn measure. This gives me a huge historygasm. This is retardedly fascinating to me. More precisely, the titanic irony about it all. How this is one of the most influential and famous women in history, and the last memory and direct physical link of her gets used as a corn measure. I mean, can you imagine how this woman would have reacted if we told her her posthumous memorabilia would be used by some dumb medieval peasants who spit and fart all around and used as something that would measure the amount of their potential feces? And here's what's even more fascinating about it all. If it weren't for those stupid farting medieval peasants and their simple but practical use of the monument, the tombstone would have probably never even survived. What we have now left of antiquity, we have it only because it was recycled throughout the centuries. Here's a broader example of this. all ancient temples we still have today, we have them preserved only because they were converted and recycled as churches during the Christian centuries. That's what ancient history and Rome is primarily about. Layers and layers of history coming one after the other. Some of them amazing, some of them retarded, but all of them coming together in this amazing puzzle of the big picture. All of them supporting and relying on each other. You combine the monumental and the retarded in order to achieve perfection. You use the name of an ancient matron as a brick to weigh food. And that's why 2000 years later, she, Agrippina the Elder, and the memory of her lives on. And that was HISTORYGASM episode 2, and Chris from Holy Retardation, thanks for watching.